Well, it's a dangerous fight.
Yeah.
Because Joshua's going to try to make an example out of him, for sure.
And will.
And will. I mean, Anthony Joshua is one of the biggest one-punch KO artists ever.
Yes.
I mean, he's a one-punch night guy.
Yeah.
Wade, if Jake Paul gets knocked out, will his career be over? Buddy, his life may be over if he gets knocked out by AJ, because that dude put Francis Ngannou flat on his back, and I had never seen Francis Ngannou hurt before. And again,
I don't think this is a proper. I don't think that I would ever consider having a debate about whether Anthony Joshua versus Jake Paul is a proper fight between two bona fide champions. I think Jake Paul is someone that's creating a lot of opportunity for himself and using sport as the anchor for it. And will I watch it? No. And do I value it? No.
Jake Paul stepping into a professional heavyweight fight with Anthony Joshua has triggered a level of shock, outrage, and disbelief unlike anything in recent memory. And the closer this matchup creeps toward reality, the more experts are sounding the alarm. Joe Rogan was among the first to warn just how catastrophic this matchup could be. Rogan said plainly that Anthony Joshua is not just a big puncher, he is one of the most destructive one-punch knockout artists of the modern era.
If he beat Anthony Joshua, good Lord. Good Lord. I mean, that's a big if, right?
I mean,
Anthony Joshua,
I do not think-
Olympic gold
Yes.
medalist, former heavyweight champion of the world. What he did to Francis Ngannou,
I
like,
know.
good Lord.
Yes.
Do you want that smoke?
Yeah, I just think it's all about the promotion or whatever. I have no idea what the actual motivation is for that fight's not competitive at all.
Well, it's a dangerous fight.
Yeah.
Because Joshua's going to try to make an example out of him, for sure.
And will.
And will. I mean, Anthony
I know.
Joshua is one of the biggest one-punch KO artists ever.
Yes.
I mean, he's a one-punch.
He reminded fans that Joshua put Francis Ngannou, one of the most feared punchers alive, flat on his back. If a man who walked through wars in the UFC couldn't handle Joshua's power, Rogan questions how someone like Jake Paul, who walks around at 90 kilograms, could survive a single clean shot from a 111-kilogram Olympic gold medalist. Wade Plemons amplified the warning. He said Jake isn't gambling with his career, he's gambling with his health. According to Wade, Jake has made a career fighting opponents closer to his own weight, skill, and experience. But Anthony Joshua is an elite, lifelong heavyweight. If Jake gets hit the way Ngannou was hit, Wade genuinely fears it could be life-altering.
this fight, one, yes, that's the former heavyweight champ. Why is he fighting Jake Paul? And two, why is Jake Paul putting his health and well-being on the line? Because someone asked me on Twitter, Wade, if Jake Paul gets knocked out, will his career be over? Buddy, his life may be over if he gets knocked out by AJ, because that dude put Francis Ngannou flat on his back, and I had never seen Francis Ngannou hurt before. Again, it's boxing, not MMA. Jake has a little more experience, but we're talking about a massive size difference. AJ's still relatively young and still relatively got something left in the tank, and he's only fought the world-class guys for the last 10 years. This would be Jake's not only hardest fight, most dangerous fight of his career. If Jake is doing this, it could signal the last one. I'm not even joking. This could signal Jake being like, I'm having one more of these and I'm out. Because where do you go from Anthony Joshua? We'll get into that part in a second, but the Netflix thing. We know that Anthony Joshua is an exclusive fighter to DAZN. Eddie Hearn has stated that multiple times. AJ, I'm pretty sure, even has a piece of DAZN. I could be wrong about that, but he signed a mega deal years ago with them. So for this fight to take place on Netflix would mean DAZN would say, you can have one of our biggest cash draws, and I may be in a revenue share thing, or maybe Netflix pays them some money, but you can have our biggest cash draw, and we don't have an affiliation with it. That seems a bit unrealistic. But having said that, this isn't a report from anybody in the camp. This is not MVP saying it. This is not Eddie Hearn saying it. This is Mike Coppinger, who I guess has talked to people in the camp. But an independent source saying that they are finalizing a deal. Not that they're in talks. They are finalizing a deal. So this is, again, we're talking 1 yard line, first and goal.
He believes this is not just a mismatch. This is danger disguised as entertainment. Meanwhile, sources inside boxing began pushing the narrative that the deal is being finalized. Reports appeared claiming the fight could land in December on Netflix, Joshua's first fight outside DAZN, Jake Paul's biggest risk ever, and potentially one of the largest crossover events the sport has ever seen. But Eddie Hearn quickly poured cold water on the hype. He confirmed that while he has spoken with Jake's team, nothing is close, and he doubts Jake is crazy enough to actually sign a contract. Ariel Helwani, however, sees it differently. When so many independent outlets start talking, he says something is happening.
And Jake Paul are finalizing a deal for a heavyweight fight on Netflix in December in Miami. Sources tell Ring Magazine Paul steps up massively to fight the former heavyweight champion after his exhibition with Gervonta Davis was canceled. Major props to Paul. So there you have it. In the midst of all this, I did reach out to Eddie Hearn, as did Gareth, and he said, "We have spoken, but nothing close, and I doubt he would be so crazy." He being Jake. I then asked him, "Would you say this report is premature?" He said, "Absolutely." And then I said, "Can I attribute this to you?" And he said, "Yes." And so what do we make of this, guys? Do we think there's smoke to this fire? PT, what do you think? You think this is something that could actually happen? This would be within the next month, right? This would be sometime between now and probably December 19th or so, in that time frame. What do you think?
I think it's a huge fight. You know, I didn't expect this at all. Usually when Jake is in a fight, the odds feel like they're stacked very much in his favor. This is the complete opposite of that. I'd very much agree with Gareth A. Davies' take, which was I'd expect Joshua to obliterate him in a boxing match. I mean, look what Anthony Joshua did to Francis Ngannou before that Dubois fight. Like, I mean, it was a completely different affair than the Tyson Fury fight. I think, having heard Eddie Hearn's update and having looked at that tweet again, it feels like boxing's equivalent to the old in the works reporting that we used to see in MMA an awful lot, right? Like when we weren't quite sure, maybe one side had verified that this fight is happening, but you can't get the other side to commit, and it's in the works. It's a huge fight. The one thing I will say is, why would you want that out there? Why would the Ring report this? Why would someone give them that information if it wasn't going to happen? Now, because everything else pales in comparison to this, as far as I'm concerned. Every other fight that they had perspective or potential, I don't think it's as big as Anthony Joshua. So I don't know. This
isn't a ring fight, right? This isn't a ring fight. Anthony Joshua is tied to DAZN. Anthony Joshua has a relationship with Turki Al-Sheikh and Riyadh Season. The ring is...
And even if Eddie is downplaying it, Helwani believes momentum is real. Too many people are involved for this to be an empty rumor. From the fighter's perspective, reactions are brutally blunt. UFC welterweight champion Leon Edwards said if Joshua doesn't knock Paul out in 1 or 2 rounds, the fight is probably fixed. He said the gap in skill and power isn't just wide, it's absurd. And as someone who watched AJ demolish Ngannou in person, Edwards believes Jake Paul has no physical path to surviving this matchup.
This fight's in the works, Anthony Joshua versus Jake Paul. As a Brit, how do you evaluate?
I've just seen that. Someone just told me about that. That's mad. Fair play to Jake Paul, first of all, for taking it. But if AJ doesn't knock him out in like 1-2 rounds, then I feel like the fight must be fixed or something, because I'm going to Anthony Joshua, obviously, for the KO. So yeah, when is it, you know?
It's going to be next month they're working towards.
Oh yeah, sick. Yeah, I'm going AJ for the win.
Cheers.
Francis Ngannou himself already turned down Jake Paul earlier this year, calling the idea disrespectful. But when Francis stepped away, Paul's team reportedly shifted their attention to Anthony Joshua, a man who beat Ngannou far more violently than Francis expected. Crossing over from Francis to Joshua isn't just a step up, it's reckless escalation.
Jake, and everything's wrong with Francis. He can go with Francis. So now all of a sudden you start satisfying both ends of this. Okay. So when that falls through, the rumor is that Francis and Jake are still in talks. Even though Francis did not come through on the event he was offered and the date he was offered, MVP and Netflix may be willing to reschedule everything and still make him part of it. And Francis' big statement was just, hey, this doesn't make sense. It's not what I'm looking for. Doesn't make sense. Okay. That's not my business. I can't be mad at Francis for that. That just cost Francis a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. That just cost Francis life-changing money. I can't be mad. If I'm mad at Francis, then I got my way. He cut off his nose to spite his face. I can't be mad at him. He's already been punished. What good does it do me to be mad at him? All right. Well, then you bring in Joshua, and Joshua shows you how it's done, right? Joshua and Francis are not remarkably comparable. I mean, not only did they box, they're not remarkably comparable, but in the world of boxing and just the accomplishments. I mean, you take Joshua Benson, Olympic finalist, for goodness sakes, right? Just like lifelong, very well known. Multiple generations of boxing ties. You know, go all the way back to Klitschko. Go all the way back. You couldn't go before Klitschko was there first, but you go all the way back to Klitschko. Anything that has ever happened in the sport of boxing says you can tie Joshua to, and he's a professional and above everything else, he's a real boxer. So if he is to say something makes sense, then it makes sense, right? If you have Joshua's opinion of does this make sense to, now none of us know what sense mean. We don't even know if he's spelling it with an S or a C. None of us can define or tell you what this means. It makes such little sense that Francis can't even tell you why it doesn't make sense. But again, I can't be mad at Francis. He already pissed down his own leg. So, but if you could have Francis's opinion of what in the world of boxing or combat or money or business or sport makes sense, like Francis's level of success is not remarkable.
Then there's the business side. Simon Jordan called the idea stupid and ridiculous. He said the fight has zero sporting integrity, zero relevance for Joshua's legacy, and exists purely as a spectacle designed to generate insane levels of money. Jordan insists the matchup would degrade heavyweight boxing if sanctioned as a real professional bout.
Anthony Joshua and Jake Paul in December. What does it tell us, Simon? Does it tell us more, as I said in the introduction, about the falling star of AJ or the rising one of Jake Paul?
It tells you that there's a huge opportunity for enormous amounts of money to be generated around a fight that really has no integrity behind it in terms of as a fight, but in terms as a media spectacle and entertainment opportunity. You've got a very talented YouTuber that's built himself into a massive influence with huge following, and you've got a former two-time champion of the world that operates at a very high level of engagement. Whether he's a high level of performer anymore is a different discussion. So it becomes about how much can this fight generate, how many eyes on the prize. I mean, I spoke to his very close friend Michael Jarman about this very fight about 3 or 4 months ago, and he was like, "Oh, what do you think?" I said, "What difference does it make? Oh, it would potentially jeopardize his legacy. His legacy's sealed. You cannot undo the fact, whatever you think of Anthony Joshua,
It might
as a
damage
fighter,
it.
I don't think so. What it will do is increase his
Yeah.
bank balance. But I think in the great, I mean, it didn't damage Muhammad Ali's reputation to go in with a sumo wrestler, did it?
No, but after, when Joshua was at his peak, Simon, if I had said to you there and then, do you know what? Maybe in December 2025, Anthony Joshua will fight a YouTuber.
This is the entertainment business, and Anthony Joshua is an entertainer, and you can't undo the fact that he won the world heavyweight championship twice. And he fought in some great fights.
So why does he need this?
Because he's in the business of entertainment. And if an opportunity is presented to him and someone wants to say that we can monetize this to the huge levels that are potentially available, why wouldn't you? It's a walk in the park.
You see, you're not having...
Tony Bellew echoed that sentiment. Bellew refuses to believe the fight will happen until both men are physically inside the ring. He argues that boxing has rules meant to protect fighters, and size matters. Weight matters. Experience matters. Heavyweight power matters.
Unless somebody wants to kill Jake, does someone want to kill Jake Paul?
The move is bizarre, and I can't help but feel like this calculated gamble is going to go horrendously wrong.
Whoa. I think there's something there about maybe the way Americans say Anthony Joshua. I've seen it because he's not the only American. Like, there's retired boxers been calling AJ out from over there. Like, I don't think that they realize, because of what AJ was like when he performed in America against Andy Ruiz, and just generally since then, you know, he's lost a couple. I think they massively underestimate him. And I also think part of it is just Jake Paul thinking, what's the biggest fucking name I can do? What's the biggest event? What's one that I actually, and delusionally, in my opinion, think that he's got a chance of just landing a big shot on him, and he just doesn't rate AJ's chin. And it's like, yeah, but like Daniel Dubois, it's not the same, is it? What does this do to Anthony Joshua's legacy just by even taking this fight? Lawrence, you've known him for a lot of years. to be honest, that's who I'm focused on. I don't really care about Jake Paul. I'm just thinking, AJ needs to get himself back on track after that devastating defeat to Daniel Dubois. Why is he concentrating on Jake Paul? Like, he doesn't need him on his radar. He needs to be focusing on real fighters. And in terms of legacy, I mean, yeah, he's an active fighter. When your career's done, finished, have those type of fun fights. But right now, it makes zero sense to me. So it's just frustrating for me to be totally honest. I don't
you're
get
making though, Loza, because you think he's still an active, he's semi-retired. This is the movement of someone that is on his way out of the game, and you can't turn down that type of money, especially on the night's work that it's going to be. This is like he's already got generational wealth, but you can imagine how big this is going to be. And it's
Netflix, guys. Netflix.
It's massive. Like, so that even I remember Eddie Hearn talking about it, and it seemed like he really wanted that fight. And
Jake Paul, Bellew says, hasn't built the resume, the foundation, or the durability to be in the ring with someone like Anthony Joshua without exposing himself to unnecessary, extreme danger. Many analysts agree that if the fight somehow moves forward, protective terms must be involved. Heavier gloves, shorter rounds, reduced round count, weight caps, maybe even headgear. Without modifications, experts insist the fight is one of the most dangerous mismatches ever proposed in modern mainstream boxing.
Mission with Tank to actually fighting Anthony Joshua, depending on the terms, because here's the thing, Jake Paul started boxing late. So Joshua, to me, this would be a very dangerous fight. So I do got to look at the terms, meaning, are they going 3-minute rounds? Is it a 6-rounder? Is it a 10-rounder? Is it a 12 championship round they're going to make up a belt? Like, what are the terms for this fight? Because Joshua is 6'6", brolic, an Olympic gold medalist. So that's biting off a lot. So for me, I got to first see the fight actually come into fruition, not just like, reports. Because Ring has previously reported Virgil Ortiz and Jerron Boots Ennis verbally agreed and the deal is expected to be signed. And it gets clicks and people get hyped up, people get excited.
And yet, despite the warnings, despite the skepticism, despite Eddie Hearn calling the reports premature, the conversation refuses to die. Because for Jake Paul, this is the biggest event he can possibly make. And for Anthony Joshua, semi-retired or not, the payday would be astronomical. The question isn't whether this fight makes sense. It doesn't. The question is whether money, spectacle, ego, and global streaming power can override every warning the sport is screaming right now. Because if this fight happens, someone may learn the hard way what heavyweight boxing really means.